fly ball to left field off the bat of Josh Crouch. Ali, chest up against the wall. He is out of room, and that ball is gone for Crouch.
All right, welcome into another episode of the Tigerland Report, Week 21 recap here at TigersMLReport.com. I'm Rogelio. Still alongside me is Jerry and our special guest tonight, David Rosenberg from Bless You Boys, and he's going to be sitting there talking. He's going to be talking to us about what he saw in Jupiter, and he's going to help us do the minor league recap this evening. Before I go on, first and foremost, just kind of making a formal announcement that Chris Brown, for the time being, taking a leave of absence. I'm not really getting into why or anything, but just kind of take a step back, focus on a couple things. So for now, Jerry will be helping me out. And yeah, so the minor league is essentially myself and Jerry and whomever else. But Chris is fine. He's just taking a step back a little bit. And so, but yeah, I'll be going to Erie one more time for the playoffs. But yeah, it's just going to be, in terms of clips and everything, that's a little bit rough sledding right now. I just still figure that part out because Chris did a lion's share of it. So, but yeah, Chris is fine. He'll be back soon enough. But I think he's gonna be shut down for the rest of the year. So yeah, Jerry, we're gonna miss Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Those DMs, yeah, it's like he's logged off everything, so he's not even around that. But but a lot to get to today. So Justin Malloy hit another home run. There is a lot in terms of even what's going on. The Tigers sweeping the White Sox, quite frankly, look like they don't care anymore. They're just done. And so we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about the SeaWolves and the Paul Skeens experience from Friday night. Because, by the way, gentlemen, there were so many, I want to say, early 20 guys hanging out like bros, just like standing there like, just talking about him. It was really weird. It was a really weird crowd for Friday night for Paul Skeens. And he did deliver, though. I mean, he did look pretty good. We'll talk about that a little bit. And also the Whitecaps and Lansing, and it's always a score fest. Runs are always a galore for those two teams. I'm not sure why. But, David, let's start with you in Jupiter. You were down there to get the 2023 draft class, and you were able to see quite a bit of excitement there in terms of some of the prospects down Max Clark, and some of him cleaning up the bench and some weird people trolling him on Twitter. That was an interesting exchange. But what were your impressions on what you saw down in Jupiter this weekend?
Well, I guess I'll start with Max Clark because I think that's what most people want to hear about. He's number 3 overall and first round pick, and he's like the god of high school baseball coming to the pros now. So he's going through an adjustment period. He's batting below 200 right now in Lakeland, and he's frustrated. I mean, there's hard hit balls that find gloves. That stuff's going to happen. His strikeouts are not bad. He knows how to get down 0-2 and kind of work back to a full count and stuff like that. And then maybe he'll end, but they're quality at bats and stuff like that. So I think I saw 2 strikeouts the entire week that looked kind of funky, maybe a check swing that he didn't mean to go on and stuff like that. But I think some of that frustration was mounting because there's chatter with a guy like him because, I think everything he does has gone viral since he's been in high school, and that's just going to continue. So like you said, the dugout moment, I captured that because I was impressed. He was clearly frustrated all night, and he'd been frustrated throughout the week, yet he still cleaned up the dugout every day. And that's something you hear high school coaches, kind of tell kids all the time. It's a intangible thing, right? Yeah, we got some trolls and stuff, but that's the kind of thing that just tells me like this kid's going to be okay. I asked him if he does it every day. He said yes. I checked on that. It's true. He's not just lying for the clip or anything like that. But he's a good kid. He's working hard right now. you'd like to see him hit the ball a little bit more, but when he does hit the ball, he's hitting it hard. He's just an 18-year-old figuring things out right now. Other guys that I saw, probably the most impressive bat of the entire week for me down in Jupiter was Kevin McGonigal, the first round competitive balance pick. He, I mean, he doesn't look like, I think he's 19 now, but he doesn't look like a 19-year-old. You know, he's pretty professional with the stick. He takes it to all fields. He showed some good power. He hit a couple foul ball home runs, I think, and then he came up just short of the wall. So he's looking really good. And I think that him and once Max picks up, you know, those two are going to be kind of a dynamic duo for Detroit, you know, moving up the organization, hopefully.
Yeah, and David, one of the things about McGonagall that really stands out to me is the fact that he doesn't strike out a lot. I mean, this week was
No.
three walks to one strikeout. And in terms of how he works the count, I mean, does he have had pretty long counts? I mean, does he work the count? Does he foul off a lot of pitches? How does he look in the batter's box in terms of his?
Well, he's definitely confident. You know, I mean, he's the guy that comes back into the dugout and says, "Let's hit." You know what I mean? He wants to hit. He wants to be in that box, and he's not really afraid of things. You know, it's kind of, I think it's a little bit of the opposite of what you see with Clark, right? Like everything's going wrong a little bit there, so he's trying to tweak things, and everything's going right for McGonigal right now. So I think he's swinging free. There's no stress on his shoulders. He had a day off today, so you know he was just in the dugout hanging out, but he's very comfortable, and yeah, he's able to fight things off. He's got a good eye, and he's able to make contact, you know, on pitches that might be those borderline ones, right? The ones on the fringe that an MLB umpire can still get wrong, you know?
Yeah, and that's there was the big thing about like he in terms of even Baseball America was talking about after the podcast on the podcast that he was somebody that would have gone higher. Just was one of the bats that surprised, like just in terms of how hyped up they were about him. The Tigers got a steal, and it's definitely paying off here. And of course, you have Max Anderson, who's been doing well since he got there. But the other bat I wanted to ask you about was the reason Clayton Campbell. Now, Clayton Campbell interests me in a sense because he's only 19, I believe. He's still adjusting to being from New Zealand. He's originally from Australia, he's from New Zealand, played at
Mhm.
Australia. So he's already gotten some professional experience behind him. But as far as him and his defense, how do he look out there?
I'll be honest, he's not someone that I took that much note of this week. You know, I was looking at other guys.
Right.
But I'll just kind of transition real quick because I do have someone else. The Brett Callahan was a guy that actually impressed me. He had like a 4 RBI day. I think he's really coming along. I forget which round he was picked in, but that's kind of the next bat that I wanted to talk about, just because I like him. I just don't exactly know. You were talking about defense. I don't exactly know where he ends up, because he's got a strong arm, and he's an aware player, right? He made, it's a little thing, but I saw him out in right field. He was kind of bouncing around the you know, left field, center field, and all that. But he made a very aware play in right field, and he just caught the ball past the foul line, and then he just quickly shot it over to third base and held the runner at second, right? And that's the kind of thing that you're looking for at this level of ball, where they're kind of paying attention. I didn't get the scouting report on Campbell, so I'm sorry to fail you there. But yeah,
Okay.
it's
That's more me of having a personal preference on it. And Callahan represents, again, I think the Tigers have done a really good job of scouting the Northeast.
mhm.
He was out of St. Joseph's. We look at guys like Jason Foley. There's even, I was trying to think of, there's another, I'm drawing a blank now. All of a sudden, I had all these names in my head. Brendan White, Upper State New York. This Sienna was another example of that. But we haven't seen that yet transition over to the positional side of things. But I was just looking at his numbers for the week. Yeah, he had a really good week, and good to see a 13th round draft pick like that just got off to a good start. Outside of you got the Pecks of the world, you have like David Smith too. David Smith seemed like he's. What was your impressions with David Smith?
I liked him. I liked him at the plate. I thought he was good. I thought he battled. I don't have his line here, but you know,
Oh,
I thought he had a good. Yeah, what is it?
He went 4 for 11.
4 for 11. Yeah, I mean that's about what I expect. You know, he fought, he battled. I think he was usually a little down in the lineup, right? Because you have kind of that set top 4 or 5 that they're going with. But I thought the bottom of that lineup ended up, doing enough damage. Guys like Bennett Lee, Callahan's down there too. Campbell's in there. That bottom third, I think, did some damage throughout. They got the rallies going, and a lot of time it would lead to the, Clarks, McGonagalls, the guys that are Andersons, the guys that are all the way up there.
Yeah, especially this is a team that's fighting for a playoff spot right now, and Bradenton didn't help them at all because they won 5 in a row, and they're still on pace with Lakeland. But as far as, let's go to the pitchers for a moment too. Was there anybody that stood out to you pitching wise? Because this, again, Lakeland doesn't really have, I guess, they have some intriguing arms. I saw that Chris Williams closed out the game the other night.
Yeah,
and he was a guy who was originally going to be starting, but now it seems like he's pitching exclusively out of the bullpen. But was there any arms that really kind of stood out to you at all?
The best arm, no doubt, was Joe Adametz. He got a start. I think he went 5 innings, and he only threw like 40 pitches or so, or something like that. I mean, he was pitching to contact, and it was effective contact. It wasn't hard hit balls to the outfield that just happened to find a glove or anything like that. He was just getting ground balls. He was making guys swing and putting it on the ground and things like that. So I really liked what he had to offer. I don't even know if how many he ended up striking out, but it was a lot of contact, and it was good contact. So, and then Jaden Ham today was impressive too. I saw some people on social media didn't like his line because he gave up an unearned run and 2 hits. And I was like, well, what's wrong with that, man? Like, I think he's only pitched about 9 innings, and those were the first couple of hits that he's given up, the whole time he's been a pro. So he's doing pretty well. His breaking ball looked pretty good today. I got to get behind the plate for a couple of photos of him, and I was just staring through the lens and forgot to take a few pictures because I was like, that thing is pretty nice. So, hopefully he can take it up out of the bullpen. Williams is probably the only pen arm that I saw because I think there was a decent performance, a couple good pitchers, but I wasn't there for all of the doubleheader because I had some other commitments, so I didn't actually get to see them in person, so I can't comment.
Okay, no, that's no problem. And because we're one of the pitchers we're trying to look at too, that come of Yosper Sanchez comes to mind. I'm saying probably his first name incorrectly. And I mean, another guy I've been watching here and there has been Carlos Mercado and Ricardo Ibarra, because in terms of some of the international guys, they have quite a few in there that haven't really, I guess, jumped up as of yet. But then Tanner Colheap had a rough week too. That's a guy who there's a lot of expectations to him. It just seemed like he still hasn't lived up to that yet.
Yeah, he threw today, and it didn't go great, so they pulled him pretty quickly. I think I was trying to get down there for some pictures, and by the time I took the elevator down, he was already out. So it was not the best day, not the best week, but hopefully he'll be able to pick it up. Ibarra, I thought he looked good at the beginning. I started taking notes, and then his line isn't too bad. I think he only ended up giving up two earned runs at the end of the day, but a lot of these Lakeland guys are, they have it at the beginning, and then one at bat will change everything. And then they can't find the zone. They start walking guys. They get into situations that you just don't want to be in.
And Jerry, let me get to you about some of the advanced ball data in terms of Lakeland. Is there any heroes that stand out to you? Because Jerry, our data wizard, always has the ability to pull up some numbers. Was there anybody that, even from a batter standpoint, that stood out?
I not that you guys haven't already mentioned. You guys pretty much hit on most of the guys I was gonna point out just with some of the data, but it's kind of the usual suspects. Yeah.
No, and even it's again one of the names that's coming up too is Christian Santana. He had a couple weeks ago. He was on fire, and seems like he's come back down to earth. And David it seems like his at bats are just been rough.
Yeah, today was not good. Today was 4Ks, and he was thankful that he didn't get 5. He was. I don't think he agreed with the zone necessarily. That'll happen. But yeah, he's in a funk. He didn't look good today. That's it. I think he also made an error today at third. So it's just like you said, ups and downs, and hopefully he can get out of that. But yeah, he's not he's not seeing it well.
Yeah.
One guy that I did want to mention is Quincy Newport, who started his rehab assignment down there.
Yeah.
He came out and immediately got like a sack fly for an RBI, and walked back into the dugout and shouted like he never left. So he's feeling good. He's pretty excited. I saw him kind of talk to Max, Max Clark, and some of the other just young guys. He seems to be very willing to take on that veteran role that might be needed in a place like Lakeland, where you have guys coming up from the FCL, a lot of 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds, just getting maybe someone who's been with the organization a little bit more,
Yeah, and he's an org guy in the sense that he is ultimately, last year was so clutch for Erie last year, the last month of the season for them to get to the postseason. And there was some moments too last year against Richmond where he showed that kind of like rah guy he is, and a lot of people miss him in the clubhouse. And for those who don't know, he was out because of Tommy John surgery.
Yeah,
which is at first we were like kind of do a little hit your head a little bit, but no, he's gonna be so clutch for Erie down the stretch here in the playoffs. Hopefully, he can come back before then.
Yeah,
but yeah, let's go to Toledo and the Mud Hens, who were the last team to play today. They played a 6:00 game, which is still to me a little weird for a Sunday for some of the minor league games. But Justin Henry Malloy, 4 straight games with a home run. He has now 7 walks, 8 strikeouts. The thing I was just talking about this beforehand with you guys. David. I was talking to David about this. Is that Scott Harris is sitting there going, "Oh, he needs more time in the outfield," but he played third today, so I'm not sure. But in terms of bad ball data, Jerry, what do you got on Justin Henry Malloy? Is he continuing to push the envelope on getting that call up?
I mean, he has to be, right? It seems like he's hitting more like he did early in the season again. Like that guy that was on fire, getting on base at a 450 clip. I just don't understand why he's still down there. He deserves to have his opportunity to get called up there.
Yeah, just as much as
he's.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. Go for it.
No, I was just gonna say, like Andre Lipsius, who by the way got the call up, and he got the call up for the series against the White Sox. Winslow Perez, I think, I'm not sure if he's out injured. I'm not really sure what the issue was, but he has been seen. I think he hasn't played recently, so I was kind of concerned about that because I thought he would, because he was on the 40-man, get the call up too, and he ended up not doing that. And so right now, I think there's one spot open on the 40-man right now, so we'll see what happens. But if Malloy, it was interesting to see him play third, because what Harris mentioned in the press conference is that he wanted to see him more time in left and right field. And David made the joke earlier about position versatility, and that's what Harris is all about. That is all he's about. And I don't know about you guys, but I was going to ask you guys both this. David, do you want a team of utility players, or you want dedicated positions?
It's a good question, because that was a question I was starting to think about in Lakeland, in Jupiter, watching Lakeland play, because there's a lot of guys that could fit here, there, and where, but they don't have Max Clark's a center fielder, but are all those shortstops going to be shortstops? No, I think you have that problem kind of through an organization, and no, you don't want one Don Kelly's nice, but having a team full of them is what the Tigers are kind of throwing out there right now anyways. So it's like, if a team's gonna get better, I don't think having a surplus of utility guys is the right move.
What about you, Drew? I mean, in terms of what you've been seeing, just overall.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. There's only a finite number of players you can have on this roster anyway, so there's only so many different combinations you can make. Why do you need all of them playing all these different positions?
And that's the thing too, that I look at right now, even on the major league side of things, the idea of having, I think Lipsius up there was to give perhaps some relief at first base, see what they have at third, because he can play all over the infield. But I think that's what he was supposed to be, versus what they're doing with Justin Henry Malloy right now, which is, I think, in Cole Heap, who also sells some time for second this week. And I mean, from my understanding too, from what we heard, and this is something we heard from, this is when I was down in Erie talking to some folks, and Alan Trammell said it, Keith needs more time at third. And if Alan Trammell, a Hall of Famer, saying that, I'm bound to think that you would want to listen to that. So,
yeah.
Another good week. In terms of bats, why Cole Keith, 440, 500, and 680 for the week. He, again, just walks 4 strikeouts. The rest of the offense, I mean, Tyler Nevin, before he got called up, he was doing fine, but the rest of the offense was kind of Dingler did have a home run this week, but he went 3 for 16 on the week. So, and then on the pitching side of things, Toledo's been a mess, and I wish I could say a little more things about Toledo, say nicer things about Toledo, but I can say Kiner Montero looked pretty solid today. I mean, he was looking better. The week he allowed 6 earned runs over 10 innings and struck out 10. The walks are still an issue for him. And as far as in terms of prospect side of things, Lyle Lockhart, who got the call up Friday night from Erie, did pitch pretty well. 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, and struck out 5 and a spot start. So I thought he held his own because Spencer Turnbull had a cracked toenail, and that whole thing is, I don't know, guys. I don't see him pitching in the Tigers uniform anymore or ever again.
Just buying time, right?
Yeah. The toe cracked. It was when it was announced. I was like, "Oh, come on, really?" Maybe because he got mad that Miguel Diaz got the call up over him. I don't know, but either way, yeah, I know
it's definitely time to part ways. Just let him go his way, we go our way. Be done with it. Have the drama out of there.
You'd feel like both parties would kind of come to the same conclusion and just get it over with. But I mean, hey, maybe a cracked toenail hurts really, really bad. I don't know.
Yeah, that definitely would. Yeah, that definitely would. I know with a fingernail it hurts.
Yeah.
If a toenail, I mean, depending on, I'm just kind of wondering, like, how big do you step it? Like, when you're I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend to be a doctor here and know, but I've had like cracked fingernails. I've jammed my fingers playing basketball and football when I made a catch. That stuff hurts. We're not gonna try to doctor this out. But other than that, in terms of pitching, same thing. Excuse me. I wish I had more to say, but the Mudhens pitching rotation it is what it is. A hodgepodge of just throwing things and seeing if it sticks to the wall. So, let's get to Erie, and the SeaWolves this week split a series with Altoona. I'm sorry. Well, no. Yeah, they did split a series with the Altoona Curve. Like I mentioned, I was talking about this. I was there Friday, so I was gonna stick around Saturday, but I had to get back, and I was there for the whole Paul Skeens experience. And I was mentioning this earlier. 97-98 on the fastball, really good changeup. He looks like he should be pretty close to getting that, starting as soon as next year, making the ball club. By the way, Erie took 4 games against Altoona, and they continue to stay in first place as they travel to Somerset next week. But the one thing about Friday's game against Paul Skeens was he made quick work of Erie, and the only hard hit contact he allowed was not Cole Keith, but Jace Young's single up the middle. Everything else, he broke 2 bats, and everything was just, people were just late, and couldn't pick up on him at all. And I had a radar gun on me, and some of the spin rate was pretty good. He had at one point he had a 3,000 spin rate on it was a slide or something he threw that didn't hit for a strike. But guys, he's a real deal. He really is.
Yeah, as good as advertised.
Yeah.
Yeah, I write for a Gators site, so we were planning for him in case he came out in the College World Series, and I watched plenty of tape on Skeens, and I had a feeling that this was going to be the case. I think your estimate of next year is reasonable. I do think Pittsburgh fans have something to be excited about, and I don't know if he knows it yet.
Yeah, he mentioned that during the press conference that he was talking with us. He really thinks he's not too far away, and that that fans should be excited for it. And just, I think one of those things too, where it's like I always tell people pump the brakes about calling somebody up, or whatever. But when you see something that like stands out right out of college like that, what else is there to say? I mean, what level? Why does he need to stick around for AAA in Indianapolis for a year? I mean, it doesn't make any sense unless you're doing service time manipulation, which I don't see
Right.
the case being. So
Get him out there.
yeah, no, it's there's no reason for him to stick around that long. Honestly, and this week they're promoting the Dylan Cruz matchup too. From what I heard too, some of the fans, some of the players are upset the way it was marketed between Paul Skeens and Chase Young, like the rest of the players. I was like, guys, come on.
I mean that's like the Lakeland guys getting upset that every camera's on Max Clark all the time. I mean they know what the deal is. You know, there's certain people who are just gonna draw that attention. It'll be marketed that way. That's marketing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and there's Samuel, by the way, in our chat. It was like, will the Pirates ever get it right? I hope they do. In some ways, I hope they do, because Pirate fans are they're really loyal. And the fact they've been sitting through all this cheapness, I guess what I want to say, maybe, or lack of consistent play over the years. I mean, they deserve, they made the postseason at least recently. I think it was 2015, 2016. I can't remember. But still, they haven't really been able to be effective at all. Justice Bigby, 10 for 20 this week. Looks like he might be the player of the week. Another big week for him. Again, one of the things about Justice Bigby is when you look at him, he doesn't look like a big imposing player, but he just when he puts contact on there, it's always hard hit contact. Looking at, sometimes we get some access data. Jerry's well seen some of the stuff we get from him, and Altoona couldn't figure it out. Could not figure him out, and he had the day off today. But guys, this is, I think, the fourth time I've seen him in person. No, I'm sorry, fifth time I've seen him in person. He's the straw that stirs the drink. Everybody wants him to go to Toledo. Why? Why go to Toledo when Erie wants you in the postseason? So, then we go through to Ben Malgeri, who had a pretty good week too, batted .412. It's Young, impressive numbers this week. He had 3 doubles. He went 9 for 25, and again making just really good hard contact. He had 2 doubles today. Both of them were. One he just barely beat out, but the other one really showed a really good first step out of the box. And then Danny Soretti hit his first Grand Slam, which was the first Grand Slam this season. The Erie has first Grand Slam hit by Erie this season was today. Danny Soretti's first home run for AA. And beyond that, in terms of bats, Corey Joyce doing a good job of filling in for Andrew Navigato, who's out for the year with that shoulder issue. I don't know if you guys saw that play or not, but that was an ugly play. It was the runner from it was Akron, ran right into him, and he had the right of way and collided, and he had his shoulder, basically his shoulder bone is popping out of his shoulder as he had a grade 4 separation. So, yeah, it was brutal, absolutely brutal. And on the pitching side of things, so one of the things about, I don't know if do you guys have any thoughts about the hitters before we move to pitching?
No, I was just gonna make note about Justice Bigby. I saw a couple things on him out on Twitter. I think Lynn Henning had made the comment that he wanted to see him not send the ball the opposite way anymore. And I was kind of looking, and I was surprised to see that his pull rate is also climbing from West Michigan. I thought that was pretty interesting. But that was basically all I was going to hit on, really.
David, you made the same face I did. Why is it having a problem with going opposite field? I thought you would want to go that.
If he's doing a good job, it doesn't seem like he's being overpowered. I mean, how many home runs have gone the opposite way? It's not an issue necessarily to me. I mean,
I don't get it.
but
Yeah, but,
yeah,
I mean, but then
right.
again, Lynn Henning. Remember, this is the same guy who wrote Cody Clemens. That Cody Clemens was going to be a major league player, so we can't all be right. But as far as pitching goes, Ty Madden had a pretty good week. Another second consecutive start where he's looked pretty, getting the strikeouts numbers back. 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. I did state I was for Tyler Madison's. He was the one that opened. He was a Friday opener. Had a couple hit hard balls, but other than that, it was fine. In terms of pitching this week too, Erie's kind of going with the veteran rotation a little bit with Brian Sammons in there and Tim Naughton for the postseason run, as they're pretty much Wilmer Flores on the good news is going to be on the mend. He started a rehab assignment in West Michigan, so he should be in Erie in the next week or two, which is clutch for them as they seem like they've been shorthanded pitching wise. Connor Holden, who's been called all the way up from Lakeland, who's made his slow progression, made his AA debut. Did not look 80s, I think it was like 89, 90 tops. Really didn't fool any bats. Just didn't have a lot of movement on his pitches, and I saw him pitch. Andrew Mango has continued to walk in terms of reducing his walks. Has been pitching better as of late, so he's been used as kind of like the closer for Erie. And it was when I asked Gabe Alvarez about that, he said because he has the potential to do that, because that's the kind of the 2 curveballs he throws with that fastball has a kind of life to it. So, but then other than that, it was just pretty much another Brant Hildler good start. I mean, he didn't go 5 innings, but another strong start, 4 innings, 3 hits, and 3 strikeouts. As the SeaWolves are trying to go wire to wire here, and as looks at the standings right now, heading to the series against Somerset on the road, they are just a game up on Richmond, and Richmond takes on Akron at home. So that should be. I mean, Erie's in the postseason regardless. Somerset's also, they don't have the Jason Dominguez is gone, so they'll be interesting to see how they handle here in the next couple of weeks. As they also, I'm trying to think, who was the other it was the Austin. Was it Austin Wells? Like I called up to the catcher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, couldn't remember. Yeah. So Flores got rocked. We'll talk about West Michigan here in a second. Yeah, there's potential. I think watching him pitch this year when he struggled, I see that he's more of a back end starter or potentially even a reliever. But it really depends. I know he wants to start. He mentioned that in spring training, but it really depends if he gets his secondaries down. I'm not sure if he got rocked on his changeup or his curveball. I didn't get a chance to watch it today, but he's more of in a back end rotation. Do you guys want to talk about anybody in Erie pitching wise before we got here? No,
I was just gonna know. I'm really interested in Magno. Sorry, I really want to see what Feder and crew can do with him. Some of the spin rates he has are just off the chart, and I think he could potentially be a pretty good reliever.
I think so too. I think the stuff I think could play up at a major league level once his command gets better.
Mm-hmm.
But let's move on to West Michigan. And what is about West Michigan and Lansing getting together in the offense? Chris and I have talked about this numerous times. The offense just tends to it just keeps going. They're now in a first place tie as they're also trying to make the postseason. But yeah, today's line on Flores was not really good. By the way, the West Michigan allowed 19 runs. It was a 19-9 loss today. And the line on Flores, two innings, or it finished just almost 2 and 1. 2 and 1/3 inning. I cannot talk this evening. Sorry, folks. 7 hits, 9 runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, and then the rest of the bullpen just kind of didn't really fall suit either. So, By the way, Lansing was 13 for 22 for scoring position today. 13 for 22.
Jesus.
Yes.
That's a thumping.
Yeah, they got thumped. And this was, again, West Michigan similar to, to Erie in terms of getting starting pitching help. They could use all the help they can get on that. Gage Workman had a good week. He's on an 8-game on base streak. Still didn't draw one single walk. Still struck out 10 times. So that's something you gotta look at. Jenkins had another good week, and same thing with Steph Stevenson. There's some guys that are stepping in there also with Luke Gold. They're not exactly household prospect names, but Luke Gold has picked it up pretty well in the place of Jace Young and keeping West Michigan and in contention for a playoff spot. But pitching wise, again, I feel like I'm like a broken record with some of the pitching this week from West Michigan. But was there anybody that stood out to you at all, Jerry, in terms of, you being closest to West Michigan, of course?
No, not really. It's
okay.
Yeah.
David, what about you?
No, I was just looking at the Flores line, and it's disappointing. It's someone you want to root for him, but that's a tough way to come back.
Yeah, Jackson Jobe, by the way, pitched earlier this week. 9 strikeouts, 6 innings, and 6 hits, and his stuff. Trevor Huth did overlay on Twitter and looked really good.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and that slider with his fastball has just been able to. I think if there's one thing I've came away from the Jackson Jobe start is that more it's the command. It's the command of the slider that keeps growing. I really think he's been able to locate it pretty well, especially on left-handed hitters, where it's just some of the diving action on it has been almost, I want to say not back foot, but he almost backdoors it a little bit sometimes on lefties. And then Troy Melton had a decent week as well. But the big story is, to me at least, was Isaac Pacheco a little bit bat waking up 7 for 23 this week. He had back-to-back triples on Saturday and Sunday, and he didn't strike out as much. But he struck out only 7 times, so it seems like whatever it is in Lansing, he figures out. Not sure what it is about Lansing. It's just bizarre. But he had a good week. And as far as the rest of the Steph Stevenson's on 6. He's got 68 stolen bases, so he'll probably hit 70 by the end of the week. I get a chance to talk to him tomorrow. We're doing like a one or another interview series, and so we'll be able to talk to him. Ask a little bit more about that, but yeah, 78. The 70 steal. It just doesn't. It kind of stands out because you don't see players like that in the minor league steal that much anymore. I miss the stolen game. I don't know what you guys think. Do you guys like stealing bases? Do you like the idea of putting that in strategy?
Sure. If you get a single and you can turn it into a double, that's a good thing. That's something every team needs. You need speed at the major league level to win championships. You need pinch runners, guys that can come in and can do that sort of thing. So, having a guy like that in the system, there isn't a lot of speed at every level and stuff like that. Max Clark might be the fastest one down there. And it's, you got to have at least one, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm in the same thought there.
Samuel wants to know, is it more badass feeling to hit a triple than obviously have the leg out or hitting a home run? I personally think legging out a triple is I've only hit, I think, one legit triple in my entire life, and that felt great. I had a little more than that, but I don't know. It felt, because you were looking the entire time, and that relay. If they don't get that relay, this is of course high school, and it's not perfect, but I don't know. I always just like when I can stand up on a legit triple and just go, because home run you have a good idea, but triple is, there's so many variables that are going on at once.
If you're a guy that hits home runs all the time, I think the triple is probably more exciting. If you're a speedster that's able to put the ball in the gap all the time, but doesn't see a moonshot, I think that's how it goes. So it depends on what kind of bat you are, right? Like, you got to know your stature, got to know your power guy, your contact guy. But for me, I'm like 250, 60 pounds plus. So if I got a triple, I'd be jumping for joy. and that would be way more exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
yeah.
I look at this. When's the last time there's been more triples and home runs in a season?
Right. It's
So for me, makes it far more exciting because it doesn't happen nearly as much.
no one says the home run's the hardest part of the cycle.
No.
Yeah.
Especially because like all you need is a little bit of a win or a little help.
Exactly.
To make that happen. Whereas a triple
Right.
is you have to it could be like, for example, in Comerica too. I mean, if you get right in the left center gap right there, up that right there, you can get. But it depends on the speed too. Like when I remember seeing Miguel Cabrera get a triple once. It's very rare that he does, but it's almost like
Yeah. Had to be a one and only.
yeah. One and only thing is like the earth almost moves in that. But no, but getting back to Pacheco, as Ty Cobb mentions, he is getting hot at the right time because he has been struggling. Same thing with like same issue, similar to Santana, where you're striking out a lot. But there's a lot to like about Pacheco. Again, he's a young guy. There's plenty of time. Just still adjusting to high A, so I'm not really worried about his progress this year. I don't look at him as a regression either at all. This is a guy, and you guys can, and David, from your experience with high school bats, is it year 3 that's really more critical than year 2, isn't it?
I mean, the thing with like, yeah, I believe so. Because it takes a little bit of time. You know what I mean? It's you're talking about year 2 to 3 in high school or in the pros?
In the pros, I'm sorry, year 3 in the
Okay.
pro. Like, yeah, when you start,
It takes a little time for these guys because I see I cover a lot of high school guys, so there are right, like Roman Anthony from Stoneman Douglas is a guy that I was able to see at the Florida high school state championships last year, and it's not surprising to see him do what he can do because he was just I don't know he just had it above, but every high school player isn't that, you know what I mean? Even the Max Clarks of the world go through these adjustment periods. So I do think that, it's can they make it? I mean, that high A to double A, area is the most important for me because there's different levels. Rookie ball. I don't want to say it's not real baseball, but I've heard as much in the press box before, so we'll just go with that. But yeah, it's I think there's an adjustment period at low A, and then again at high, and then at double A, and then we all know what triple A is. It's just kind of
a hodgepodge of things.
it's guys and people who need to wait a little bit. Justin Henry Malloy's apparently.
Yeah, apparently Scott. I did. What's interesting? I did pick up on it was something that was told that AAA. They're treating AAA this year as you're basically ready for the majors. So essentially, if you're in AAA, they view you as you're this close to getting there. And I don't.
You have to be a career minor leaguer, or you have to be that close. I mean, it's it's the waiting grounds. It's where if we don't have a spot for you, we will make one soon.
Yeah, especially because a lot of fans, and rightfully so, were kind of frustrated with the Tyler Nevin call up because he's been up here. I believe this was his 3rd or 4th time,
right?
And he hasn't done anything. So I can understand the frustration with the aspect of it, but I mean, he was hitting. They're going to ask down in Toledo, who should we call up? And if Nevin's the case, that's what it is. It's just, it's not what the fans want. It's basically what the coach recommends. So,
right.
But yeah, it was good to see. But again, we get back to Pacheco. It was good to see him bust out a little bit, especially after his struggles. Their next series is they're at home starting on Tuesday against Great Lakes. So everybody's off for tomorrow. So it's nice. Actually, it's really weird. The Tigers. We're gonna get the Tigers here in a second because I do want to recap the Tigers beating the listless White Sox, and to come to no surprise, really. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. The White Sox are just. I think they're over this season. I mean, actually, everybody's off tomorrow. Everybody's off tomorrow for Labor Day. No baseball Labor Day.
Wow.
I was surprised with that. And then the Tigers go to New York to take on the Yankees. But yeah, sweeping. The one thing about the series against the White Sox, there was a Miggy's 4-hit game. I don't know if you guys saw this. He passed George Brett, 17th all time on Saturday. But yeah, I'm gonna miss. You have weeks left of Miguel Cabrera, guys.
It's funny. It's like I don't know that I remember a Tigers because I'm 27, so I started following the Tigers in like 2006, and he's been there for most of it. So I don't know the Tigers without this guy. And it is getting sad, man. It's getting real. It's at the beginning of the season. It was kind of like, yeah, he's not going to be here next year, but we got 162 games. He's going to play some of them, right? And now we got a month. Now we got a month, and I was, I'm down here in South Florida, so I went to every game of that Miami series just to kind of soak it in, and it was awesome. It was great to see, and I'm actually going to be up in Detroit at the this week and I'll be at a game on Saturday, I think. So yeah, anyone watching, come say hi.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm probably there this weekend too. He's the first. It was a record for the Tigers. So it was one guy by the name of Chuck Holster that was the last player to 40 years old, 270 days old, not had 4 hits. So Miguel Cabrera this weekend with his 4-hit game had made the second. He was the second player to do that in Tigers history. So that's a obscure thing to think about, but props to Jason Beck for finding that. That's a really good one. But it's just I didn't realize that record stood for so long. But then it dawned on me, there's not a lot of Tigers outside of Al Kaline. I don't think a lot of players. Right. Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker, I think, retired before the age of 40 here. So they weren't even near those kind of just the kind of accomplishments that that Cabrera's had. But still, Miguel Cabrera, yeah, I mean the White Sox. I think they did a really good job of honoring him this weekend too. But still, a win's a win, series win. Tigers move on, and this is going to be they're 26-15 against the division this year.
We'll take it.
Yeah,
we need something to cheer about.
Yeah, and the other couple other news from Riley Green placing the IL with the elbow. He made a really good diving play, but the result of him is going back in the IL, and so that comes the question is, do you want that kind of risk out there, high flying, to make the great play? Because you know what? No, I'd rather him not end up like Brian Buxton, who's on kind of game management.
Yeah, when Riley was drafted, I talked to his dad, and he assured me that Riley was going to play center field for the Tigers. Not just do the minors and stuff like that, but he was going to stay in center field. I think everyone knew at some degree, to some degree, that he was going to shift to a corner. But I think that some of the traits that he picked up playing in center field. He's not the fastest guy in the world, like let's face it, right? He some of those diving plays that we see, he gets good jumps on and he's able to make it, right? That's good being a good outfielder, but a faster guy might be able to not lay out. So I think he's picked up a couple of bad habits and unsafe habits. So he needs to adjust. He's the future of this franchise. I mean, he's going to get a big contract offer and hopefully he signs it. So I think, he needs to protect himself, because I know there's a desire to be the guy and do everything. But when you have, Meadows in center field running at whatever they was tracked at, like 30 feet a second or something like that, it's let him do it, not you. So be safe, protect yourself for sure.
Yeah, let him play in the corners. I mean, literally, look, put Riley Green away from center field. Just if you have to, I wouldn't mind him in right field. Jerry, I don't know about you, but it's you can't just keep putting him there. It's something's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree, and I've had this conversation with a couple people. It's I would much rather have him in the corner so we can see him for 150 games a season than to see 2-3 IL stints every year because he feels that he has to do this magnificent catch. Like it's going to hurt the team far more in the long run than just moving him over and just saying, you know what, this is it. This is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to help us the most going forward. You got to imagine it helps him in the long run too, because as soon as he hits a free agency, assuming he does, teams might be less likely to give him that really long contract if they think he's going to be constantly getting injured.
That's a good point.
Yeah, no, you're right, and just kind of maybe assign perhaps an insurance deal or something like that. It's just you're gonna have to insure
Right,
that
right.
contract. Yeah, and yeah, and I don't know. It will be interesting to see how they'll play center field or the outfield here going forward too, because Lipsius can also play some time out there, can play like left field, and so and this is a good trial by fire for Parker Meadows as well, and get some more time in center field, and we'll be watching out for that. And maybe there's a call. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a call up in the next couple of days or so. I don't know. I know that there was or maybe Nevin gets sent back down. Who knows? It's Toledo season's just about 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks left. But here's a good question. Actually, we have there's some suggestions here in the YouTube chat. Carpenter DH and Green to right field. I like that. That's pretty much I think a foregone conclusion. And Samuel wanted to know, has the narrative around center field has drastically changed in the last 5 years? Because I don't think the conversation around Austin Jackson and Curtis Granderson was the same. You guys have anything on that, or
in regards to what?
I talk about like just Samuel. Are you talking? So just when we're doing this on YouTube, are you talking about defensively, or are you talking about the offensive expectations? That's what I was kind of curious about on that question.
I mean, if you're referring to defensively, I think the biggest difference between those two and Riley Green is those two never or rarely got hurt. They were usually pretty healthy.
I think they were both, a little bit more athletic too. At least Granderson. Granderson slowed down as he got older, but I think during his time on the Tigers, I mean, it's if we're talking about the unsafe thing, maybe safety is more of a priority these days. I think people have seen more careers get cut short, but I don't think anything's really changed. You want a fast guy who can field everything out there and who can hit reasonably well.
You just want a solid player. I mean, it's because there was one thing that Austin Jackson never did. And I remember some fans actually gave him a lot of crap for not, and the people are mentioning it in here, for not diving. I don't blame him. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just to me, it's just like if you're going to, and you want this closing speed, and Grelos mentioned this in here. They both were faster, less prone to diving. If you set yourself up for success out there, you don't really have to make the dive. I mean, was Jim Evans? Jim Evans also the same thing. He avoided a lot of injuries too. I remember that. There was one thing that he made the great play in St. Louis or he was in Anaheim and somehow avoided injury. So, but on that note, thank you so much for listening to the Tigers minor league recap. Again, for those if you missed out the beginning of the show, Chris Brown is on hiatus for a little while, and so it will be myself and Jerry and whomever else wants to come in. David, thank you for your time sitting.
Yeah, thank you.
And go ahead and plug your stuff. So where people can find you on Twitter or X, whatever you call it.
Twitter. I call it Twitter, so that's what I'm sticking with. But yeah, it's my name at David Rosenberg. Just make sure you put an extra G at the end because I couldn't get it in time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I read my stuff at Bless You Boys. I write there. I do some recaps and stuff like that. A lot of minor league interviews and stuff like that. I talked to Trey Cruz this year. I talked to Justice Bigby. He's a great kid. So maybe some Max Clark stuff will be coming soon. So yeah, check it out.
And Jerry, anything you want to plug? You have data projects that are coming up or anything?
I don't know. I did have that hymn thing, the hymn metric come out. So make sure you guys read the primer on that.
Please,
that was fun.
I was gonna say, talk about the hymn metric, Jerry. Talk about the creation of this. You should.
Yeah, so it was completely and totally inspired by Spencer Torkelson, especially at the beginning of the year, where we were all going on about how hard he was hitting the ball, but we're seeing no results. So I wanted to try to get a single number to say they hit the ball hard and they're actually producing. So basically what it is I'm comparing the hard hit rate to the league hard hit rate. And then also the player's ISO compared to the league's ISO to get this number that then can kind of give you a good idea of their actual production while hitting the ball hard.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's kind of fun, kind of neat.
It's neat because it also it shows some of the things that would matter to me, at least. Like that whole Torkelson back and forth. Like, he's hitting the ball hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, he's still not in runners in scoring position. Doesn't matter. Like some of it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. But like, yeah. So on that note, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching on YouTube. And there'll be a State of the Tigers article I'm working on. It's a kind of a 3-part thing because I'm just going through all the minor league system, team by team, and doing a level by level, and just kind of looking at the players, some of the underrated players, some of the players that popped out like Luke Gold, or Justice Bigby, who's the biggest story. We don't do minor league players of the year, pitcher of the years, but maybe it's something we might do in the future. Who knows? But we'll be back next week. Week 22 is almost the end. I can't believe it's the second week of September already. Summer's gone by like snap of the finger. So happy Labor Day. I don't know what you do for Labor Day. If you guys have a barbecue or whatever people do on Labor Day, I just do it as another day off. You guys do anything for Labor Day?
Writing about the Gators.
Oh, there you go.
Nope.
College football's already started.
I'm just going to
It didn't go well.
take
Not
it
a good
easy.
start.
You guys just take it easy, Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna. There's a couple things I got pictures to edit from Friday. Yeah, so there's a lot of things. Friday was a good day. Friday was a very good day in terms of just going out there. It was a beautiful night out in Erie, and so again, all the hospitality. Shout out to Greg for just doing his thing and taking care of everything. So I appreciate that. And also, again, just go to their merch shop, buy their merch. I won't plug that because they've done a really good job of. There's a abundance of special Torkelson shirts there they're trying to get rid of. So they were talking about that the other day, and they were trying to say it was like literally 2 shelves boxes worth, and the merch sales person she was just like, "What am I gonna do with this?" Like, all right, well, maybe I'll plug it on the podcast. Maybe it might help. I don't know. But imagine having all these shirts. Yeah, So, but on that note, we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend, guys. And Samuel. Oh, awesome. You have Labor Day in Canada too. That's right. We'll talk to you soon.